Jen, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me back. We're long overdue, huh?
It is so exciting having you back. You've probably been our most frequent guest. And honestly, you have been through the podcast with some of the biggest moments, including when I shot episode 100 with Tom Bagu. You actually picked me up right after the episode. So thanks for always being a big part of the show.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I remember that and what a big accomplishment that was. And it was really cool. You were definitely on a high after that interview. And it's so funny because he lives like, he lives on the other side of the hill. So I'm on the wrong side of the right hill. He's on the
Yeah.
right side of the right hill. So yeah, it was cool to see that.
That's awesome. I know you have gone through so many transformations over the past year. So I really wanted to start by just getting an update of some of the cool things you launched, and then we'll dive really deep into how your journey contributed to be able to pay it forward and help other people in what are very unprecedented times.
Yeah. I mean, we saw a need for our community. So my community that we serve is primarily PR professionals. So public relations professionals, whether they're freelancing or they're in school just getting their start, or they are working at an agency looking to kind of strike out on their own and build their own business. Or, I mean, we even have members that have been doing PR for 15, 20 or more years, and they're looking to really refine their agency model, kind of take their retainers to the next level. So we've been supporting this community for, probably about 5 years now through various programs, primarily me kind of teaching people a framework for running an agency. But we had always wanted to launch a membership that would be kind of like a front end support. So giving them the skills, we call it becoming a pitching powerhouse, being a media insider, really understanding how the media works, how to kind of cut through the clutter and hone people's pitching skills. So it was always on our radar. And like everyone else, at the end of last year, or at the end of, I guess at this point, 2019, we mapped out our whole year for 2020 and we had our quarterly initiatives, and the membership was a beginning of Q4 thing that we were planning. And so when the pandemic hit, we were getting a lot of messages from our community telling us that they were losing their jobs, they were getting, furloughed or let go from agencies, or they were offering services that were not really in demand, and they wanted to learn a new skill that would be something they could offer freelance or on a retainer. So our team, I said, we got to do this. And it was like, how do we serve this community now? How do we best support this community now? So at the end of April last year, we launched a membership called the Pitch Lab. And it's all about teaching PR professionals how to become pitching powerhouses, an entire framework for how to pitch the media, and then these monthly execution plans that are so insanely good. My team helps me build them, and every month I read them and I'm like, this is so good. And I'm actually editing the one for May. So we release them 2 weeks in advance, and they're able to get these pitch angles that are timely and relevant. And it's the perfect complement to the training that we offer. So it's giving them the foundation for successfully pitching the media, and then giving them ideas every month at the right time, so they're able to work their clients into the mindset of what the editors are working on and when. So we launched this kind of quietly even before it was created, and that approach. It's kind of like sell it before you make it and see if people want it. And by the end of the second month, we had 100 members in this membership, and all over the world, which is the coolest thing. And I know you probably have experienced that with your book launch, just the ability to connect with people all over the world. To me, that's the coolest thing. And it's since grown from there. We're going to be a year this month. And our members stay, they tell their colleagues about it. And it's just been just really cool to be able to provide something that people needed when they needed it, and to just continue to improve it and support our community with resources that they need.
What's amazing to me is just being able to have seen your evolution. I mean, the first time we talked, you were deep into running your own agency. And then the next time was, yeah, I'm going to try this online course world. But now, like, it's evolved into this thing that you're able to transfer your knowledge, the experience, the battle wounds to just help such a mass amount of people. And when I think about like entrepreneurship, I have a belief that entrepreneurs really can fix the world or at least make a bigger impact. Like, you're a testament to what's possible for people when they marry their expertise with their passion for helping people just to build this thing. And if you were to look back on it, aside from like knowing you should have started sooner, what were some of the things that you learned when you did the launch that somebody who's thinking of doing this thing to help them do it sooner?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm still running my agency. I'm still running my agency, and that's all working in the background. I mean, I have a team, and that's still been the kind of primary source of income for my family and my business. But I think the key for us was building a community first, and we did that through Facebook. I know a lot of people do it through a podcast and they're able to connect. We're doing it through Facebook, and I do a weekly Facebook live show, and we're listening to our community members. We're monitoring what they want to know about. And I think, I mean, I'm sure you remember my first program was called Press Success, and I dumped everything I had into that program, and it was geared towards entrepreneurs with brands or entrepreneurs as experts, teaching them how to do their own PR. And I was less passionate about serving that audience. I just thought, this is what people want to know from me, so I'm going to teach them how to do their own PR. Maybe they can't afford an agency. Let's help them get their start. But it just wasn't clicking. My passion for that audience wasn't there. The program was really hard for me to build. It took me years. And I know you and I have kind of paralleled, like, where are you in this? Oh, I'm just, it was like, got to get the branding done. And it's like, those are all the wrong things. That doesn't matter. So when I kind of pivoted to support the PR professional, that was so easy for me. I was already supporting women all over the world. I don't even know how these people found me, but I had somebody I was mentoring in Australia. I had somebody I was mentoring in Scotland, and then people across the US, but I was doing it for free just because I was like, oh, of course, I would love to help you. Like, yes, this is so great. Because people would ask me, how did you go from being a lawyer? I used to be a civil litigation attorney, and I had no training or contacts or anything in PR. And I just did a 180, you know that whole story, but it was just like one product that I got in one magazine, and it was so exciting to me. I thought, let's try to build a business around this. So doing that, people always wanted to understand how I did it. How did I start my agency? Where was I finding clients? Essentially, like, how do you start your own business? So once I realized I had at the time I had 5 people that I was mentoring, and they were all asking the same questions, right? I was like, let's put some structure around this. So it was paying attention to what, give the people what they want, not what you think they want. And it was just a much easier transition for me to create something that flowed so, naturally, but also by listening to them and doing a step-by-step approach to, it was essentially like, it wasn't teaching in the abstract, because I literally knew 5 people that I was talking to, weekly to tell them the steps. So it was not even making up an avatar. Like, I knew my avatar because I had them. So, and then we launched the Facebook group, Profitable PR Pros, and I was doing weekly Facebook Lives, and I still do. And all we do is just listen to our audience, and we build content around what they're asking about. So that's the key, I think, is, overthinking it. And I overthought it. I mean, I'd been running my agency for, at that point, probably, 12 years. And I thought, well, I'm established and I can afford beautiful branding and I need to make a big splash. And it's like, we built this thing, my first, kind of successful program, Agency Accelerator, as we went along, and we just did it on Zoom, and I was making PowerPoint slides, and that's the content that's still there and people love it. It's engaging, and it's what they wanted to know. We built it with them. So that's kind of the way that I think you build something that works.
I'll be honest, it's the same way I wrote my book. I mean, I had people I was mentoring and the same patterns kept coming up, or the people I interviewed, it was like the same sequence. And I'm like, well, if the same sequence is at all these levels, then that's the thing I'm going to teach. And what's really amazing about your story, and I hear this a lot, is a lot of people will take for granted what they know,
Yes.
or they will take for granted what they've experienced.
I know that's in your book. Yeah. Yeah. It's a huge piece of it. Absolutely. It's just come second nature to you. And you're like, doesn't everybody know that? And the answer is no, they don't. And and like when you do it over and over again, that's a framework. If you're doing something and it's a step-by-step and it's happening over and over again, it's a framework, it's a formula. And that's, something that you can teach and position yourself as an authority on that topic.
Well, what's interesting, and I've seen, like, as you've gone through so many iterations, I think it's almost been 6 years now, that like watching even your ascension grow, like you had the initial product and then you kind of found your home with PR Pros, and now like you're building another hub that's going to serve a broader audience. But it's almost, as you take the steps, like you ascend your knowledge and you're just bringing these people up along for the journey. But tell me more about PR Pros. I know we only got into it a little bit before we started.
Yeah, profitable PR pros. It's an identity, right? Like I want to be a profitable PR pro. So that's the community that we built, and it started as the free Facebook group. It's still there. I do the weekly content, and then we kind of repurpose it everywhere. But we realized that the programs evolved in a non-linear way. So I created Press Success, and that was for entrepreneurs, and that was a course about how they could do PR. We evolved that. The structure, the foundation, everything was the same. We evolved that as the foundation for the pitch lab. So teaching PR pros how to do it. So instead of saying you pitch yourself in this way, it was positioning it as you pitch your clients in this way. And there were things that were different taught to pros, but we really elevated that content. But that didn't come until later. We started with that. And then I started doing free 5-day challenges. One was, how do you find 5 client leads in 5 days? And then we packaged that and repurposed it to help people who had an objection. How do I run an agency when I can't even find a client? So it was like, oh, well, we have this program that will teach you how to generate client leads. So that was like just something that we built because people asked, how do you, get clients? And then I also had a little mini program called Media Magnet. It was just kind of teaching the foundation, the fundamentals. And then I launched the Agency Accelerator, and that was like a massive, it started out as like a $10,000, 12-month mastermind. And there were a lot of members that couldn't afford that, and they really needed it, and they needed to get their start. So then we came up with a self-study option. And then we started to realize that we had all these offerings that kind of served as stepping stones on this path. And it was up to us to put them all together in a way that would meet people where they were and help them identify where they were on that journey. So people self-select into our success path with our various programs. And kind of at the end of the success path, we offer media lists. And it's this really cool thing we're able to do where it's peer curated. It's hard to say, peer curated. So our members are boots on the ground, PR professionals pitching the media. If somebody's on maternity leave, somebody leaves a publication, somebody is freelancing for 6 different publications, our people know. So compared to big, expensive databases that have old, outdated content, ours, it's not as big, but these are responsive, PR friendly contacts. So we have built a peer curated database that kind of, because the other objection we get is, well, I can't afford Cision or Muck Rack or Meltwater. It's too expensive for me. And then people don't have the confidence. They don't feel legit if they don't have a database. So this is, I mean, and we have pros that are 20 years in the business that are like, I got a response from a contact in your database because they're PR friendly. And these are people that our members have worked with. So we have that offering too. So the Profitable PR Pros website, we just launched it. It was last month, was like my birthday month. It was, my team got it. We got it together and did a promotion around my birthday. And, you know, we're a month in, and it's really cool because people are taking our quiz. They're finding out where they are in their kind of, you know, pitching powerhouse journey, and self-selecting into programs. And sometimes they'll go straight for the agency accelerator, and they'll be running a successful agency, but they need to train their team, or they really want to hone their skills, or they're using stuff they're learning in the pitch lab to talk on sales calls and sound super in the know. I mean, we give them editorial calendars of top tier publications and what they're working on when, and they can just, I'm like, name drop all day long on calls, like what publication you're connected to and what they're, you know, so you sound like you're in the know. So our members are using those to build out strategies, to build out proposals. So they're going backwards, not necessarily backwards, but, you know, back into the membership. And then we also have now a membership. We changed the way the agency accelerator is structured. I don't even know if you know this, but because I know we have similar structures in our programs. I was getting sick of all the calls. There were so many calls and I didn't have boundaries. I was like, I want to help. I literally just want to help everyone all the time. Like,
Guilty.
so I know you know this, right? So it's like DMs on Instagram, DMs on Facebook, people sending, you know, contact forms through my website. And I was responding, and my team was like, you cannot do this. It's too time consuming for you. And I was like, but I really want to help everyone. So we had to find a way to do that. So we made it self-study, and then we created like an office hours component where it's once a month. And they get the Facebook group and community and coaching, mentorship, accountability that we call Plus. And so they can enroll in Agency Accelerator and pay and own that program and that resource forever. And then they can pay for the support while they implement or the ongoing community. So we have kind of like front end membership, which is the pitch lab, and then sort of back end support through Agency Accelerator Plus. And it's been so much easier for me because I now have just 2 calls a month. And I know, you know, my audience, how we serve them. And most of our members are actually in both programs. So it's really cool. So I'll be like, we can talk about that on the Agency Accelerator call, which is in 2 weeks, you know, because they're, you know, we answer them, but it's, you know, it's been a lot easier for me. It's more streamlined, and I feel like I'm able to give more because I know how and when I'm serving.
It's one of the things that astonishes me with your progression has been, I'm sure there's days you wanted to quit. And I remember some of the texts, you're like, oh my God, I hate this. I'm never doing this. But your willingness to adapt and evolve. I mean, most people, because I know you got burned quite a few times with some failed launches.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But you found a way to just double down, listen, and pivot. And I think a lot of people have this misconception that they can take some 10-week course to build a course and they're going to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
And they don't fully understand how much of this is a journey.
Yeah.
And how much of it's about building a community and adopting more of a service model.
Yeah. Those failures are really hard because I haven't had a lot of them in my life. Like I work really hard and I'm always betting on myself. So when it came to, you know, getting into law school or passing the bar, it was like, I just have to put my head down and do the work and we'll make it happen. And so that's what I felt like on this also. And it really kicks you in the gut, and it takes the wind out of you, like really knocks the wind out of you, especially just the financial investment. And my husband is so incredibly supportive, and he's like, whatever you need, I know you've done the research, I know you've done your homework, and you're just betting on yourself. So if you tell me we need tens of thousands of dollars for Facebook ads for this launch, go for it. And it's like all the mentors say, it's like money on tap. You turn on your ads and you kind of multiply by 4x, and you're like, that sounds great. But it doesn't work like that. And with my community, especially with PR professionals, it's really hard to find them. Our acquisition cost is really high. Our ads teams have, struggled. It's hard. And we are evolving and learning as we go. But I just kept going back to the fact that the people that I wanted to serve needed what I had to offer. And it was really good. The feedback that we were getting from our members, it's not a huge volume of members, it's not thousands. The feedback from the, let's say, dozen or so that we were supporting was like amazing and great and awesome. And everyone was happy and they were all connecting. And what I started to realize was, especially in the PR world, there was this understanding that my secrets, my contacts, my process is my secret sauce. And if I tell you how to do it, you're going to take an opportunity away from me. That's sort of the baseline, mode for PR professionals. And that's not how I wanted to run my business. I wanted to have people I could bounce ideas off of and collaborate. And if something's a conflict for me, I want to refer it out and have a bench of awesome qualified professionals that I'm serving the potential client that's not a fit for me and helping somebody build their business. And I just thought there has to be other people out there like me who want to work in a collaborative environment rather than a competitive setting. And so I struggled to find PR professionals, but I knew that I had to kind of change how the industry responds, because there's so much opportunity. There's so many clients, and I have people they're running agencies very similar to mine, and we're helping each other out more than anybody because we have the same contacts and mindset and the same kinds of clients. So if it's a conflict, like, hey, I'm going to call that person and help them, so once I realized that that's what people wanted to shift towards, was this collaborative, I knew that I had to create that and build it because it didn't exist. So while I got kicked in the gut many, many times, I knew that I had something that worked. People were having transformations, and my industry wanted this and really craved it. And I had it to offer. I just needed to find the people and tell them about it.
It's amazing. You've always seemed to have had an abundance mindset. And I remember it was episode number 6 on the podcast was the first time. I remember like how you approached, what, law is not the thing. I'll make this work. But what's been interesting now is that abundance mindset combined with the willingness to create a community, I think is the thing most people are looking for. And I think when you run into people that tend to hoard information, or it's like, oh, you want that secret? You got to pay 10x. I'm like, well, no. And I ran into the same thing when I was doing my book. It's like, if anybody wants my book, just ask me. I'll email you a PDF. I don't care about the royalties, moving copies, being on a list. Like, it was because I believe that with this information, you can live a better life, which has been the thing that amazed me when you connected that and created all the different levels and the steps on the path, as you mentioned. Like, there's a point for everybody. And even with a lot of the content you do put out, I could follow your free stuff and probably figure it out.
Yeah,
or I could join and accelerate and be part of it.
Yeah, well, there's that piece of it, is the people that kind of invest, that they're a little bit more focused and serious, and they are looking for that community. Our paid communities are a lot more collaborative and focused. But yeah, it's like that success path. My husband's always reinforced that, like, you're putting out a program, that's $3,000. And it's a huge investment for people that are just getting their start, and those people need it the most. What can you offer them that will meet them where they are budget wise and experience wise, and help them get to the next level, which is what the 5 client leads in 5 days was. And then we just completely redid it. What do we call it? Lead to landed. So instead of it being like a 5-day free challenge, we actually really buttoned it up. And as I was going through the slides, I'm like, this is really good information. Like, this is not free information, but I think that program's like under $50. So it's, if you cannot get your first client, you can invest $50 to have an approach that's proven, that works. And that's what I wanted to do, was find a way. And, you know, the pitch lab, for example, that's a monthly membership, and you get the foundation. That's the roadmap. It is like, this is how we support billion-dollar clients in our agency. This is exactly how we do PR, how we build our media list, how we structure our pitches, how we connect with journalists, step by step by step by step. That sits at the foundation of the pitch lab. It's $97 a month. And after 2 months, so under $200, you have that whole framework. And if you go through it and you get that, and then you cancel for under $200, you have the foundation to go charge $1,000, $2,000 a month on retainer or more, and start to build a profitable business. And it's like, if you cancel and that's all you came for, totally cool with me. You have what you need. So we try to make it really, and again, that was press success. We were selling that for $2,000. You know, we still, I say like, oh, like the launch has failed. We still had hundreds of people that went through the program. It just wasn't like these 6-figure launches. People kind of found us, and, you know, so that program sold for $2,000. Now it's structured as, you know, $200, but there's more that you get with the pitch lab if you stay. So, you know, it's giving people affordable tools so that they can build their business in the beginning, and then really have the expertise to grow and scale with the bigger programs.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because a lot of pushback I had, and I had the same challenge when I was trying to figure out my program model. And I chose not to do a free group because I wanted people to invest in themselves. And I would, if they really couldn't afford it, if someone said, I really can't afford $100, I would give it to them. But I want the people to invest in themselves because they'll pay attention.
Yes.
And I found like you can't just give all the free information because they won't do it. But one of the things I like is the fact you made it accessible with a greater vision. How did you battle that internally, though, without feeling like you're giving something away and like devaluing something, knowing you were serving a bigger community? Like, what went through your mind when you're going through all these different models?
It's just like listening to our community, and it just goes back to that, always goes back to that, is what is the thing that they're asking about, and what can we give them that will help them figure out that challenge in their business? And how can we, like, I want to learn something from my content when I build it. So it has to be mastery for people like me who've been doing this for, you know, I mean, like 16, 17 years. You're talking almost 2 decades. I want to learn something for mastery, but it also has to serve people that are just getting their start. So it's always just been about building the best information tools, not overwhelming people with extraneous content just to be like, look at all the things I know. It's like getting them to the fastest path. And, you know, the know-how, like what I'm really good at in my business is sales and getting on the phone and selling our services to prospective clients. And that's what I really love doing. And like you said, to, you know, those things kind of, you take for granted what you know how to do, but that's the key to really building a business, is converting those clients. And then we realize that once you get clients in the door, you have to get them to stay in the door. So you have to serve them. So it's helping people say, well, I'm constantly on the hamster wheel of getting new clients. Well, something's missing. How do you retain them? So how do we help our members retain their clients? And then of course, we want to elevate you to the visionary role of the company, because you can't be in the weeds doing all the day-to-day stuff. You have to build a team. And I know I mentioned on your podcast, the first one was that bit of advice I got from my early mentor, that less gen equals more money. And the finders, minders, and grinders, that whole thing was like, okay, I'm going to really scale this business when I can bring in a team, and I have to be willing to let go of some of that income for the bigger picture and long-term vision. So showing our community members that they need that. So I don't even remember your initial question, but it's
That was a
essentially
perfect
like,
answer. So a
yeah.
bigger question though is, as you start to teach and mentor and refine your process, have you noticed you've gotten better in your own agency?
It's been a weird time. And I know you and I talked about it. On the agency side, I mean, we got smacked in the beginning of COVID. I mean, one of my biggest clients, multiple 5-figure retainer, they declared bankruptcy, huge publicly traded company. They were like circling the drain for, many years, and COVID just took them out. And then we had a couple other clients that, brands were very cautious. They did not, it wasn't like 2008. When 2008, the economic downturn or recession, we were thriving because brands were really investing on bringing, getting customers to pay attention to them. But this was so unprecedented that brands were stepping back and saying, we don't know what's going to happen, so we're going to take a pause. So we lost 2/3 of our revenue, and it was a huge hit. And so I was that's when we launched the Pitch Lab. So I was lucky because I was able to supplement a lot of that income. I think that in the agency side, what the agency accelerator has really taught me is how beneficial having a team is, and how having the right, it's the right people on the bus and having the right people in the right seats. And so I have really been a little haphazard. I've lucked out and I've gotten great freelancers. I've gotten great people, but I've made some misfires, and I wasn't taking that seriously. So I think through the agency accelerator and building all of that, and really trying to teach how to scale and how to build a team the right way, I realized I did not have my own house in order in that piece of it. So we have been working to improve that, and, realizing how important that team piece of it is. So in that sense, and now we're starting to get more business coming back, and it's like, I'm back in action with leads coming in and getting on the phone. And it's like, it feels so good to get, kind of onboard new clients again, but realizing how important that team is to kind of keep the machine running.
I honestly, I couldn't do what I do without the people behind me. Especially I have 1 PM. She is a absolute rock star.
Mm.
It's scary. If I lost her, I think I'd be in trouble, but
I know.
like, she's unbelievable. And it does take a team to do it.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, I have one final question for you. We'll see if the answer changes.
Oh no. Okay.
Where can people find you and learn all about the path to profitable PR pros, and follow you in your journey?
So our new website that launched is profitableprpros.com, and that's a whole hub of resources, free resources. There's a really fun quiz, tons of free content on the blog, lots of downloadable resources, and then it kind of shows you the success path and the programs that get you along the way on the journey. And what's also really cool about that site is we have really inspiring videos from members that we have all over the world. We've sent crews to film their stories, and there's something really relatable and really inspiring in all of those stories. So even just looking at that and feeling like you are inspired to know you can do it too. So profitableprpros.com is the hub. And then or we have a Facebook group by the same name. That's our free group. And I do Facebook Lives there every week, or else Instagram @Generation PR. So I'm not really sending people to my agency website right now. It's really, go and explore how you can build and scale your own profitable agency.
I will make sure to put all the links in the show notes for you. And the final question today, what is the one lesson you can share with the audience to help them find happiness in their pursuit?
Um, God, it's like this question to me is so big and I don't want to get it wrong. Um, I really think that a lot of my life I spent trying to arrive at a destination. And this is the whole focus of your podcast is enjoy the journey. And I've always known it in the back of my mind, like, yeah, okay, I'm enjoying the journey, but I've got to get to this other thing. And I think that with COVID, it kind of forced me to really be present because, you know, my family was here all the time. I was home, homeschooling. We were, you know, doing wholesome things again, walking through the neighborhood, riding bikes, you know, and now that it's lighter out later, we're going to start those things back up again. So that has been the greatest lesson in happiness is really being present, being physically and mentally where you are in the moment. If I'm with my kids, looking them in the eye, getting down on their eye level, playing a game with them where I'm really paying attention to them and not being distracted. And once I was able to really get present, feel present, be present, I started to enjoy my journey a lot more. Like I'm on these coaching calls and I'm blown away by the connections we're making in real time. It's not just like a 2-hour thing on my calendar. It is like, oh my God, we are talking to a woman who is running her agency from a boat on the coast of an island. She was just featured in Forbes. And I'm like, this is the freaking coolest thing ever. Like, I don't want to ever take that for granted. And I constantly tell my people, thank you so much for, you know, I built this vision for the community and you guys found me. I don't know how you found me, but I'm so grateful and really being present in that moment and enjoying it. So I know that's the whole key of your podcast. And I've finally started to actually live it rather than just know it.
That's amazing. That was the best answer of the three you've given. That was amazing.
Oh, okay, good. I don't remember the other ones.
It's okay. Jen, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you. So fun to catch up.